In this video, I'm going to go over the editing process from import to export that I used to bring my street photography to life. If you haven't read the article about editing street photography, be sure to check that out. I have a fairly quick editing process that in this video I'm going to break down while providing a few Adobe Lightroom tips and tricks that'll help bring your photography to the next level. And so with that, let's go. First things first, let's get the photos from the camera's SD card onto the computer. To begin an import, use the keystroke Command or Control I, and this will open up the import panel. All of the images will be checked for import. However, in this case, I only want a small selection. So I go down here and click the Unchecked All button. Next, I scroll through the images and find the ones that I want to keep. I click on the first image and move down to the last image and hold Command or Control and click. This selects all of the images between the first and the last. Then I click the box in the upper left corner and they all get selected for importing, just like they were at the beginning. But before I import the images, I first change the name that I want to apply to each individual image. For all of my photos, the naming protocol is the same: date and year, month, day format, -photo session, -original file number. I have a built-in preset for this, so all I have to do is enter the date and the session name. Then I select the destination drive. Next up, I add any relevant keywords to this particular photo session. One of my favorite features of Lightroom's import module is the ability to apply develop and metadata settings upon import. I have a few built presets, and if using them, I'll add them before I import. Once I'm happy with all the import settings, simply click import, and just like that, the images are populated onto the new destination drive. Now that all the images have been imported from this photo session, it's time to cull the herd. For this step, what I'm looking for is more technical than anything. I begin by pressing N to view a single image. Then, as I scroll through using the arrow keys, I press the key 1 for any image I want to keep and edit. Again, this is a quick process where I'm looking for focus, exposure, and overall balance and composition. The goal being to find the best images for editing, particularly when there's duplicate images taken of the same scene. After I finish going through the photos session, I then filter out the unrated images. Down on the bottom right of the library panel, there is a drop-down menu that says Filters Off. Click this and I select Unrated, and it removes the images that I had previously rated. With this filter on, I can now get rid of the images that I don't necessarily want to keep in the future. For me, I know I won't be editing these images, so I just simply delete them. You may opt to keep them, just be consistent with your workflow. Now on to the fun part. Let's get editing. Back here in the library panel, I've turned the filters off and have all my selected images from this photo session. You can see each one has a 1-star rating. To start, I select the first image and enter the Develop panel by pressing keystroke G. My process is fairly streamlined, but in a nutshell, I run down the panel on the right-hand side and make adjustments as I go. Remember, I've already applied a bit of editing upon importing with my presets, so I'm off to a great start. The first thing I do is change the profile to Adobe Monochrome because I like a lot of my street photography to be in black and white. Then I work through the basic adjustments and fine-tune the exposure and contrast. Not making a lot of big adjustments here. By toggling the before and after keystroke, which is \, I can gain a sense of how the edit's going. This helps inform subtle changes to the present sliders, such as dehaze and texture. Next up, I zoom into about 200% and scan the image for any dust marks or imperfections, which can be removed with the Band-Aid tool located just under the histogram. This image, it looks pretty good. When I am happy with the develop settings, I usually apply them to other images that are similar. By right-clicking on the image under the develop settings, I can copy and paste those settings. This is usually a great beginning for similar images. It's one way I've found that speeds up my editing process quite significantly. With this image, I want a light in the sky above the Capitol building. To do this without a mask, I enter the B&W or black and white panel and click the eyedropper tool. Since the sky is mostly blue, the adjustment's going to target only the blues as I click and slide up to brighten and down to darken. Some images, particularly my street photography which take place in an urban setting, require some straightening. In the transform panel, I select the upright tool and find vertical areas in my image to set the vertical perspective. It is a simple yet effective tool that strengthens most compositions while at the same time reducing any lens distortions. Another great tool is the crop tool. It's a great way to take your in-camera compositions and make them just a little bit better. With this image, I think there's too much foreground, so I'm able to take some out by cropping. Another option for editing black and white images is to begin making the bulk of the edits in the basic panel before switching the profile to monochrome. I find this works better for images that are darker like this one. Lightroom's masking tool is incredibly powerful. For this image, I'm going to apply a simple radial gradient to balance the light and bring the attention onto the woman in the center of the frame. And one of the many strengths of the masking tool is the duplicate and inverse mask option. To get there, I click on the three dots next to the original mask and click Duplicate and Invert Mask. Just like that, a new mask is created and adjustments can be made to fine-tune the mask. Again, this is the invert of the original mask, so it's a good way to slightly darken the outer edges of this particular image while emphasizing the brightly lit center. By toggling the eye buttons on the masks, I can see the before and after. This is something I recommend doing whenever using a mask, as it helps dial in the adjustments and keeps things from getting to the point of way over editing. This image gets the final crop and voila! When copying settings, you can select which ones you want to and which one you don't want to. For this one, I want to keep this mask that I created to use on the next image, so these boxes appear when you have a mask. For this case, I click them and apply the settings to the next image. And this one does have a lot of noise. Lightroom recently rolled out its first use of AI noise reduction, so let's give it a try. It took only less than a minute and nearly all of the noise is gone. This is the first time I've really put this particular tool to the test, but I'm pleased with the results, and I can see this being a great asset for my photography. My editing style is very minimal and to the point. While at times I may make some drastic changes, I've developed an image style that dovetails with my editing process. Simple, effective, and impactful. The key to all photo editing is to start with a light touch and be consistent. This is the best way to develop a personal style that not only suits you, but lets you stand out from the crowd, and it can become something that you're known for. Thanks for watching this video. I hope it helped. I hope you learned something new, and I hope it encourages you to go out and start creating some new photos. Have a good day.